So here I am, minding my own business, going through the forums, and what do I see? A drip marketing. Or what I expected, but also didn't expect at the same time, ZHAO. Um, yeah, let's take a look here. Was not expecting her drip marketing, and there's something very interesting to see about her typings. I have already seen this. For those who don't know, well, you're gonna see right now. Um, yeah, very interesting. Ah, fuck, wait, the audio. Ooh, not very. Oh, I ruined the video. Well, I'm not gonna re-record it. We're just gonna keep sending it as I fix the audio, play that back, zoom back in, and boom, there we go.
Just call me ZHAO. Don't let my appearance fool you. My bite is more ferocious than it looks.
Now,
Just call me.
if you didn't catch on first watch, bottom left corner. Mods, take a screenshot and enhance. See, now this is what's interesting. It's another defense character. Now, we all know what happened with our last defense 5-star character. Wait, we had one before? I didn't know we had a defense 5-star. Maybe I'm just saying stuff. Surely this is our first defense 5-star. I don't know. I can't think of any other defense 5-star that exists, but this is our first one, clearly. And yeah, it's an ice defense character. Very, very interesting. Not something we had before, let alone be a limited character. Of course. We've had 2 defense 4-stars, one of which is fire, one is physical. No other ones whatsoever. Yeah, it's really hard to say. Must pull. Okay, whatever. It's really hard to say what exactly is going on here because this is something that is kind of, well, out of the blue. Well, out of the blue in some ways and not in others. I expected this drip marketing to happen, but I was honestly expecting it next week, not this week. But it looks like Zenless is finally seemingly drip marketing on schedule for once. Look, to be fair, every time they've done a drip marketing, it's just been all over the place. They have not had consistent schedule for drip marketing like ever, right? It is just random stuff go. Like, but this actually seems to be on time for once, where it's a week before the patch. So that's very interesting. We'll see if they keep that up. But yeah, Agent Wrecker for ZHAO. Now, look, it's hard to really say what this character is going to do, because she is a defense character, right? The last, wait, there wasn't a last one. What am I saying? This is our first limited defense character, and I have no clue. I would love for them to give an AoE buff, you know, and not just buff one specific ally. That'd be pretty nice, right? We've had issues in the past with Sakaku, as an example, where she only buffs one ally at a time. She doesn't buff both of them. So you can come into some problems when you're trying to do duo anomaly teams or some other team setups, right? Definitely very unfortunate if she were to buff one person at the same time. Additionally, I would love for the ultimate to actually do something. A lot of characters' ultimates are not too crazy, especially some of the weaker characters, right? Their ultimates, they don't do all too much. In fact, you would call them useless because, well, they are. I would love for this character's ultimate to actually do something for once. That'd be great. Maybe this character could have a little bit of stun potential because the place of a defense unit in the current meta is a little bit weird, you know? It'd be nice if you could slot out a stunner instead and run this unit. I don't know. Could be interesting. Or maybe she takes the places of a support and buffs the stunner. I don't know. This could be something interesting. There's a lot of ways they could go that we have definitely not seen before towards buffing characters in this game. 100%. Nothing like this exists. But then also, there is the elephant in the room of Yi Xiongguang, who you could argue that this character is probably made for in some way, or this character is made for an existing character, like Idhari. We don't know. I will say, though, the one unfortunate thing with being a defense unit is that you have terrible gear and weapon options. Defense units have not had any love for a variety of reasons, right? It's just not what they're focusing on. But who knows? Maybe with the introduction of a new defense character, they actually get something worthwhile, right? we're missing a signature defense set. They've been giving signature sets for all the other characters. We have a support set. We have an attacker set, which granted is restricted to basic attackers, but there's an attacking set. We've had other sets that are also tailored towards other character types, right? Those are the two specific ones. The primary one is Stunner, right? But you can see there's this new design philosophy they're doing with these sets, and they're making the sets comparatively stronger, but then restricting them to either specific character or specific damage type, right? This one is both in that case. This one is two stunners if they do a specific move, and then that. This one is pretty much just for rupture characters, right? And so they're doing this more restrictive set building that, hey, we could see potentially a set for a defense character, which would be a great buff for our two other defense characters. There is only two. There's only Seth and Panda. Oh, but there's also Ben. There's three. Definitely not four, just three. Ben, Seth, and Panda. And so, yeah, would be a nice buff for them if they were meta relevant. Unfortunately, they're not. None of the defense characters are. But who knows? This could be a revolution for defense characters. Maybe they actually become good in some way. Maybe who knows? Maybe ZHAO is a defense character buffer. You run triple defense character or you run multiple defense character. I don't know. That sounds dumb. There's really no way to save them. I'm just kind of coping at this point, but I don't know. I think it's pretty interesting. I do think the character is cool. I said this before. I am actually kind of a fan of the, fact that she's a little creature. I think it's funny. Small character with a big ass weapon. That's always peak. And also, I'm hoping that the animations are fire because the two recent characters, Banwei and Dylan, they are fantastic. Dylan is probably one of my top 5 characters in this game. Just flat out, like, she's sick. Very unserious character. Animations are also fire as well. But yeah, I am personally looking forward to ZHAO. I may not summon for her because honestly, I do care more about the other characters. She's not that high on the priority list. I don't have it pulled up, and I'm not going to pull it up. But I just thought it'd be interesting to talk about, just about the character in terms of meta relevance, because like there's no real reason to run a defense character in the current state of the game, because you ideally are playing at a high enough skill level to where you don't need sustain capabilities. And so if a character like Panda who does have sustain capabilities, it can be helpful in some cases, especially if the character is like HP drain and they need to drain HP, specifically like Monato, for example. But other than that, it's like, why would you run a defense character if they're not going to give you as much buffs as a support character, right? So there'd be problems there. So it's going to be very interesting to see like what they do for a kid. Are they going to like push power creep in further? Because they're still not pushing it too crazy. I mean, obviously it's getting pushed, but it's not like too crazy. The biggest I guess argument. Well, it's not really argument against, but the biggest thing that's like contributing towards the feeling of power creep is the fact that they are making bosses specifically that counter Miyabi. And so people that highly went into her, and she's still great, are gonna feel the pain a bit more in that regard, depending on how much investment you have in your account. So there is problems like that. I don't know if this character is gonna specifically counter that. That would be interesting if they force us to pull for this character to counter that. I don't really like that idea, but we'll see what that goes with that. But yeah, the set options are not really all that good. And we look at W engines. All right, defense characters also do not have a good roster of W engines. This is because we don't have any defense characters. Now, clearly, there are no 5-star defense W engines. There's only a couple of 3 stars and then a bunch of 4 stars because we have not had a limited character, and defense characters, there was no standard one, unfortunately. We were given a free defense weapon that's actually pretty good, all things considered, but it's, depending on the role, not going to be that good on ZHAO. It is an impact-based one, so maybe ZHAO is going to be, again, a hybrid stunner. I don't know. Could be interesting. But other than that, we really haven't had anything all that good for defense characters, because they're either hyper niche, where it's going to be like this one giving you HP restore, or it's just raw damage, which is like a defense character doing raw damage. Not really that crazy in this economy, right? Just saying. But yeah. It's really hard to say. This is kind of cursed. The fact that there is a bunny turned around in a basket as a W engine, and now we are getting a bunny as a defense agent. Yeah, I'm just gonna end the video there. Like, subscribe, check me out on Twitch, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.